This is the Comedy Kiosk, podcast by Monday and Munoz. Please welcome Monday and Munoz.
Welcome to the Comedy Kiosk, a podcast in which we discuss news, opinions, and ideas about, well, comedy. I'm David Munoz, and with me is...
As always, it's Igor Monday.
Alright, and today's topic is AI in comedy. Ooh, AI in comedy. Can we all retire? Is that the question, Igor? Can we all retire? Is AI just going to take over? We're just going to watch AI do a bunch of skits and comedy on stage? Is that it?
Igor is unavailable, so he sent a bot in his place. Yeah, I don't.
Wow, cheap. You know what? I'm not surprised because Igor's such a cheap bastard. He would send a bot, not an AI, just a basic bot.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ,
just a
Igor.
20-year-old technology, like not AI, not anything like modern, just a bot. Yeah,
no whiz-bang, fandangled stuff for us. No. Bots are good enough for Igor. That's it. You can deal with a bot.
Look, this is a podcast. We don't charge shit for it. It's a free thing. I don't have the budget for any AI models. I just do bots.
Well, if this is the bot talking, it's actually doing a very good representation of Igor then.
Well,
devoid of personality. Oh,
damn. Okay, shots fired. Catching strays here. Could we all retire? I think we could retire even before the AI became a big thing, to be honest.
But my question would be, what are we retiring from?
Yeah.
We haven't made it yet.
I don't think either of us is, made a living out of comedy. So the notion that we actually could retire, I'm like, if I could, I would retire. I would get the comedy pension, easy, no questions asked. But can we quit comedy now because AI exists? It's a question that's been kind of on everyone's minds for the last, 2 years, let's say, since AI became this big buzzword everywhere, and especially for creatives, I would say, in terms of people that are copywriters, designers, things that can, because, as performers, I don't think so. You're not getting my job, bitch. Unless someone trains an AI model to also develop some hologram and this and I think we're 10 years or 20 years still before that happens. So, for now, as it's just a kind of text-based models mostly, and, kind of data crunching, whatever, algorithms, you're not getting my performer's job. My writer's job or, designer or something like this, copywriter. Well, as that's not the basis of my comedy, luckily, I'm not primarily a comedy writer or something, then I think you're especially safe with your very expressive kind of dramatic, how to call it, fluid stand-up style where you are very physical, you're very active, you're very all over the stage. I don't think they can actually copy that anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm hard to imitate. Yeah. I think it takes a lot of CPU and especially a lot of graphics,
a lot of GPU,
GPU, a lot of GPU, graphics processing unit. Yeah, I need a big one to process all my movement and my bouncing around like an absolute idiot. No, but that is a fair call. But actually, it's interesting because you're talking about how the AI is not there yet, but actually, because one of my students, because I teach English as my actual freaking, like you said, we cannot live on comedy, so I teach English here in Spain, and one of my students, he actually runs a company that does virtual stuff, right? So virtual games and all that sort of stuff. He's actually invited us to check it out, sort of thing, and we're planning on doing like a lesson sort of stuff on it, sort of thing, like a social thing, fun games night. But the point is, I did talk to him a little bit about, could you perform virtually using virtual reality sort of stuff? And he was like, well, yeah, you could have conferences, you could do stuff the technology is getting there, that it's getting quite good. Now, if you could kind of splice that with a bit of AI, like if you get an avatar that can move, then you could probably have a person, maybe in the beginning it'd be a bit of Stephen Wright, very deadpan, doesn't move much, whatever. But eventually it would get to like me. I mean, if they can already play games and stuff like that on it, why not? Maybe they can. Fuck, maybe I am totally screwed. Maybe they can imitate me already. They just throw in a couple of clips of me and go, copy that style.
But I think that's something that's, been around, this, let's say, idea of like a cyber world, not call it necessarily like virtual or something, but like the idea of cyber, and I think Ricky Gervais was featured in like GTA, one of the GTAs, as a character in a game that's doing stand up in a club. And then I think Jimmy Carr was the first person to perform on the internet in the Second Life, it was called, the game. So it was like you build your own like sim and you log in, and there is this huge massive multiplayer online game with people just doing sim things, just living their fake life online. And you could go buy groceries, or you could go play football, or you could, one of the things is you could go and watch stand up, right? And then Jimmy Carr, actual like kind of his likeness, but also his voice, and he was playing as a comedian in so he was like, as far as I remember, the first comic to do like an online virtual performance. So it's been around, and that was 20 years ago at least. I think maybe like 2005 or something. So that's been around, people trying to emulate real life in cyber worlds. And also with like virtual reality, you put this like headset on and whatever, you see this like, it's more like a Star Trek hologram kind of thing. So but at this point it's very rough around the edges, very primitive, very like the graphics are very it's obviously not the real world. Like you would never put on the virtual reality helmet and be like, wait, am I in like Greece? Oh, I mean, you could with like an image, but not immersive kind of experience. So I think this is all just as people are trying to emulate all other aspects of life, and even in the games like Sims or something, you can just build a house, have a family, cook something, go to work. They try to emulate this performance part as well, like entertainment. But the real question is, could it ever? And I know some years ago on like Coachella, they had this 3D hologram of Tupac or something like 5-6 years ago, where in like the first 3 seconds you're looking at it thinking, is that no, it's not. Like you immediately realize like it's just lights, kind of it's hologram.
But that was ages ago. Like
that was ages ago. Nowadays I'm sure they could do a much better job, but or even these like kind of virtual things where you put some gear on and you join like a virtual meeting, you see kind of people sitting there and stuff. But I think that's not even a threat to us, because I think for live performance, what you're really going to want to do is be live in that room.
Yeah, I mean, recently, like I had a show and it went really well, and it was the first one that my wife was able to go to for a while because of our son. So we had like the mother-in-law's visiting, so she was able to take care of him. So she came to the show first time in probably like, I think a year or something like that. She was actually able to come, and she really enjoyed it. And she was like, oh my God, and the atmosphere was great. I was on fire, apparently. The comedians were really good, and everybody else was like, oh, that was brilliant, blah, blah. And then when she saw the recording, she was like, it's not as funny as I remember. And it's like, man, the live aspect really makes a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you cannot. I've had the same. I recorded my set on like a super kind of explosive, show where you feel this energy, you feel this atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's such a good time. Everyone's just maybe not, people are not dying of laughter, but you can see them from stage, you can see that they're all with these like big smiles on their faces, really having fun. But then the camera is just like back of their heads, you cannot see their expressions. Maybe the laughter is not recorded as good because you don't have a separate, of course, like mic for the audience or something. Are you just watching thinking, was it this dull? Like I had a feeling it was really this electric experience. But I think that's the part of it. And I think again there is even this really good documentary, or well, it's a part of some series by BBC of like just them exploring different parts of sociology or whatever. But there is an episode with Jimmy Carr where he explains why laughter is such a social thing, because if you're at home watching a Netflix special, and even if you really like it, if it's a good one, the best you'll do like is if you But then if you
it.
saw the same thing in a room of like 1,000 people, you'll be dying of laughter because it just spreads, and there is this kind of common goal. We all came out to have fun and so on. So especially if you have people, these little secrets of a comedy room, put people close, the laughter spreads, the energy stays, they create this bubble of we're all here together having fun. So I think this aspect, like it's probably not going to be stolen by technology or AI anytime soon. But all the other, let's say, supporting activities around stand-up, I already see it happening, as we mentioned, design, copywriting, even I think soon you'll be able to automate things such as maybe publishing some like ticket links, events, like all this kind of admin and overhead that you have to do. Yeah. And then even small things like that's super useful. You can just record a static video, but then make AI kind of follow the camera or the camera follow you around the stage as you move. So it gives this theatrical
impression.
Cinematic impression, or voice to text or something. You perform and you turn on voice to text, and once you finish you have like a script of your bit, and then you see, oh my god, I keep saying like or kind of or because you see it in text every 2 seconds, and it's all these little kind of all these kind of little kind of things. I think I've started saying kind of a lot. I'll edit it out probably. I won't.
No, keep it. It's the whole point. Yeah, or get AI to do it.
Yeah, I'll get AI to do it. Yeah, remove every kind of from. But so and you've noticed this as well. I know because you've shared some examples of some designs that people have made.
Well, actually, before we get to that, there's one thing I wanted to do, because we were talking about you were talking about the performance, and I was thinking to myself while you were talking, like, the problem it does is the improvisation part, right? Now, while you were talking, I started thinking like, oh wait, I have used AI when it was in its nascent form, when it was at the beginning, to help me create these comedy workshops, right? And I asked it to write some jokes for me. Mm-hmm. Okay, just simple setup, punchline, setup, punchline, setup, punchline, 10 of them. So this is what AI did. Now, the thing is, I don't know if it copied it from, because it's an aggregate, right? It finds the general thing from around the internet and puts it together. So these could be old ones, but the examples it gave me was, why did the tomato turn red? Because it saw the salad dressing.
That's a good one.
How many tickles does it take to make an octopus laugh? 10 tickles.
Okay.
What did the pencil say to the paper? You're looking sharp today.
Wait, the pencil, the paper to the pencil, I guess.
I guess, yeah. What do you call a fake noodle? An imposter.
Okay.
I think these are just like taken from a joke book. Why did the chicken cross the playground? To get to the other slide.
Okay.
How does a penguin build its house? It glues it together.
Okay, so it's just wordplay and puns, basically, right? It's like
this is what I asked
jokes,
for. Yeah, I asked for a bunch of. I think these might be like taken from the internet, literally. So I was trying to find because I had some writing activities and stuff. But anyway, the point is, I just thought right now I have opened ChatGPT, and I'm going to say, write me 10, not 19. That's a bit too much. Not 19 again. 10. Write me 10 simple setup and punchline jokes. They must be original.
Okay.
So let's see what it does, shall we?
Yeah, go for it. But I would also like to test after this experiment, because writing like one-liner dad jokes, it just means that it has analyzed enough, like text and like linguistic syntaxes and models to still needs to understand why something is funny, but I would like to see it try and write a more complex joke, try to write an observational joke about
we can do it next,
women, or like women and lipstick. I don't know, like something, men wearing long coats. Just something like observational joke about something. Because I wonder, it definitely doesn't have the perception of a human, and...
Okay, well, let's see. These jokes. Okay. 1. So he says, sure, here are 10 original simple setup and punchline jokes. 1. Why did the calendar break up with the clock? It needed more space and less timing.
Okay, well, see, when it's original ones, it's already struggling with the...
Okay, let's see. What did the spoon say to the fork at the party? You really know how to stick out.
Okay.
Why did the tomato apply for a job? It wanted to catch up on its bills.
Mm-hmm.
What do clouds wear to job interviews? Thunderwear. Why did the pencil get detention? It couldn't stop drawing attention. Why don't ghosts use dating apps? They're too into beautiful connections.
Okay, so basically what it's doing is either finding words that have several meanings, like drawing, or it's like attaching words like thunder and under becomes thunderpants, right? So it's just combined. So basically it kind of analyzed enough one-liner jokes and dad jokes to realize that's how you create puns. You either misuse the word or you combine the word.
This is actually not bad. Why did the bicycle apply for therapy? It was too tired of being taken for a ride.
Yeah,
it was a double.
But it
was a double in there.
So
but it's again wordplay.
It's both those things. Yeah, it's a great example of both those things. So
exactly. Yeah. What did the plant say after its first sip of water? I'm rooting for more. Interesting. Why did the light bulb break up with the socket? No spark anymore. And number 10, the last one. Why did the music teacher go to outer space? To find some new notes in the atmosphere.
Yeah, so you see, like it's either it uses the premise well or it misses the mark completely, because it doesn't, like, very similar to many comics I've seen, it doesn't have enough self-criticism to know it's not a funny joke. Yeah, so let's try give it a prompt of basically write me an observational joke about, I don't know, men wearing fedoras.
Okay.
You know, kind of like, I want to see a more Seinfeld style joke, like, what's with these men wearing fedoras? You know,
should I write in the style of Jerry Seinfeld?
I don't know, because then it might just rip one of his, you know.
Now write an original, an original full observational joke about men wearing fedoras.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there is while it's generating the joke, there is a reason why basically at this stage, at least, I'm not afraid of it stealing even the joke writing jobs of people, because what, as you said rightly, what it does is it aggregates. Basically, it searches all the jokes that are available to it. It realizes what's the algorithm for funny. Not what really is funny, what would be funny in a real world, in a real room, but what's the algorithm for funny? It's either, you know, double meanings, double entendres, adding, kind of combining words together, this rule of three, you know, things that the theory of comedy has written for like decades and decades. And it puts a twist on that. And that's why I just watched this very interesting YouTube video, why AI cannot generate a glass full glass of wine. If you ask AI, generate an image of a wine glass full, it cannot do it. It always does it half full. No matter how many tries, you go like, no, absolutely 100% full to the brim. I want it just, you know, almost tipping over, like just make the glass full. It cannot do that, because nowhere in the database of pictures it has an image of a wine glass full of wine, because no one sane would ever pour the glass of wine completely to the brim and upload that to the internet. So all the
what? Why wouldn't they?
But that's not how
I would freak. But I would do it as a, like, you know, it's sort of like, oh, really enjoying my beer, and I would have it. I'm sure someone has.
Yeah, beer is a different thing.
To the brim.
Beer you pour to the brim, and then, you know, like you take the foam off. Wine you pour, like there is a specific dose of wine that you pour.
I know that, and then, but I mean, I'm sure someone.
Okay,
has
someone,
poured,
but
like,
in the you know, in the quantity of images, because if you think every restaurant in the world, every like winery, every sommelier, every picture you find online, it's always like what, like 2 deciliters or something of wine. It's never, no one drinks full glasses of wine, right? So 99.9% of the references it can find do not represent what the user is asking. Therefore, it cannot imagine it, right? It can never imagine it. It can only work with what exists. That's why with humor, it cannot imagine a joke. It can reproduce already like written and seen jokes.
Yeah.
So what do we have?
All right. Okay. Well, two things. But at the second one, it's still doing. So we'll do the first one. So I'm going to try to read this joke. So I've looked through it.
How long is it?
That's actually short.
Okay.
It's a quick observation. It's just a quick little observation. So here's the original observation style joke about men wearing fedoras. You ever notice how when a guy puts on a fedora, he immediately thinks he's staring at a blanket? Sorry, let me start that again. You can edit that part out.
Nope, I'm leaving it in. Just to prove that we're not AI. We're real humans, real men made of flesh and bones, making mistakes.
Okay. You ever notice how when a guy puts on a fedora, he immediately thinks he's starring in a black and white detective movie from the 1940s? Like, he's not just walking to the store, he's on a case. He's like, the dame at aisle 5 had legs for days and coupons for everything. Something wasn't adding up. Dude, you're not solving a mystery. You're buying almond milk. The only thing suspicious in your decision is your decision to pair that hat with cargo shorts, for Christ's sakes. For Christ's sakes, I added it myself. But anyway.
That's a good joke. Which makes me think that he's found it has found somewhere, some Reddit post or something where the guy is asking, hey guys, is it cool if I wear a fedora? And someone answered, only if you're like a black and white movie. And someone else answered, only if you don't pair it up with cargo shorts. So I feel like it's found a bunch of references and it made a joke out of it, but it's a good joke. I like it.
Yeah, it's not bad. So now the other thing that I have here, I'm sending you something via WhatsApp. Okay, so there is an image of a full glass of wine. Now I did say filled to the brim. It's not quite to the brim, but it is damn full.
Yeah, but it's not like it's as full as it can get, but it cannot get full. It cannot get it full, like 100% full.
Fair enough. But it's pretty damn close. I would still call that a full glass of wine.
Yeah.
Even though I did say to the brim, it's not quite to the brim. It has like a centimeter off at most. So, yeah. Anyway, so that is it. But as I was saying, it's an aggregate. It's something that takes elements and it puts it together. I don't know, like we said, if we maybe did a filter search for that joke and we asked it like on Google, or if there's a copyright thingy, just to see if this exists elsewhere. That's the problem we can't do right now. But anyway.
But that's also the problem with ChatGPT, especially. I've seen that it's very sneaky in the way it answers prompts because it gives you the approximate answer to your prompt. And then when you call it out on it, it goes like, it's basically gaslighting software because it goes like, so yeah, you say like, make me a picture of a black Mercedes something, and it creates you a picture of a Mercedes, but it's gray, and you go like, no, I said black, and it goes, oh my god, you're so right, I'm so sorry, I should have gotten it from the first time, and then it makes another one, and it's gray again, and it goes, oh, I didn't see it, oh I'm so sorry, I made a mistake again. So for example, for this one, it might have put the focus on observational joke about fedora, but decided to ignore the original part.
Maybe.
Because it sometimes ignores one of the prompts that you give it, like because it just cannot process all of them.
Yeah. All right. So now, moving on to the original part you were getting to before. So, the reason why this topic sort of came up was because my wife does the posters to all of my shows.
Before you go into the visual part and so on, I just wanted to say, like, there was definitely like 4 or 5 years ago already, some kind of COVID years, I remember it was, where they still didn't know what AI is. Like, it wasn't a big buzzword, so people just called it bots, as I did in the beginning of this episode. And they gave a bot, Netflix actually did it, they forced a bot, and I don't use this word lightly because there is a lot of like Amy Schumer and stuff on there. They forced a bot to watch all the Netflix specials, and then they gave it a task to do like a 10-minute stand-up segment. So create like a 10-minute stand-up set. And it's on YouTube. There are 2 parts, and it's fucking hilarious. It's genius. It's
Wow.
basic. It shows how a bot, especially like 4 or 5 years ago, how it actually analyzes and aggregates and all of that, the jokes. Some are really funny, like in the sense of, if you saw it on Fringe or somewhere, like you would think, okay, it's just a kooky comedian, but it's really funny. And some are just so, just cheesy and focused on some tropes of comedy that you're just like, oh my God, I see what's happened here. So, the jokes are kind of like, hey, what's the deal with kids? I don't have kids and other people have kids. Is someone giving out kids? It's kind of like that, because it takes all the kind of, what's the deal with this, what's the deal with that, and it's trying to make an observation, but it doesn't know how to, be relevant with it or something, or realistic, and it just makes these ridiculous conclusions, and some are just absolutely hilarious. So to anyone listening, and to you as well after the recording, if you haven't seen it, just write Netflix bot does stand up or something like that. It's on the official, like, Netflix is a joke account, which is their comedy account. So yeah, that's basically how AI writes jokes. It's just aggregating and assuming. But yeah, outside of the joke writing, there is another application for AI that you've mentioned. So
Yeah. Yeah, so, but to go back actually to the bit that you just talked about, there is, oh God, I can't find it right now because you just touched on something I hadn't thought of. But anyway, so there's a comedian. He also does some acting and stuff like that. Oh God, I can't remember what his name is right now, but he's really good. But the point is, he did a set on stage where he doesn't make a single joke, but he does a typical stand-up routine with the whole, this guy gets it, this guy gets it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because I did that thing, and oh my God, why do people do that thing? It's just ridiculous. I'm like, what the hell do you think you're doing there? What the hell do you think you're doing? Oh, Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? This guy gets it. He gets it. And he does this whole thing like that. And it's a whole set. And it's hilarious. Because it's just the tropes. It's the things that
it's
all
so
comedians
familiar.
say.
It's like a familiar format, and people immediately get what you're doing. And yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, and women are like, pfft, and my wife was like, pfft, and guys are like, and it was just so good. Anyway, so yes, the part that I was talking about before. So the thing, okay, so when you talk about the visuals, so like I said, my wife, she does the posters for all my bits, and one of the comedians, he suggested we do a like pizza day. We all get together, all the comedians with our families, kind of a get together, meet everyone, so basically also that our wives realize that we're not hanging out with serial killers and things like that. And so he did a bunch of like 2 posters for this pizza thing. Have you, because I sent them to you, so you can have a look at it as well. So, and it's, okay, first off, just the spelling mistakes, is phenomenal. It got stand-up as one single word. Pizza Party 4, stand-up, great. Comedians, good. Pizza and Sioki, comedinids. Fis 12/2 at 2, but it's also 2 for the 2:20 p.m. ppm, and then it just like all the words get gobbledygook, right? But the images are kind of cool. They're kind of cartoonish style pizzas. There's a stand-up microphones of the old crooner style. There's a whole bunch, and the pizza is wearing a hat, which we all kind of commented on, thought it was a bit strange. And there's the little doohickeys that don't make any sense. I think one of them is golf club. I don't even know what the hell that's doing there.
All right, so a little bit of a confession. We did record this episode a few months ago, and we did chat about generating images with AI, with ChatGPT in particular. And David, you've tried generating some posters for your shows and things. We will chat about that, but actually things have changed since then. The AI is progressing so rapidly that nowadays this isn't as relevant anymore. So we just decided to basically we decided to basically redo this part of the episode. So let's compare how it was like a few months ago and how it is today. So some months ago, I remember like maybe February, March, you tried generating some posters for your shows, right? Using AI?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. No, so basically what happened was I wrote in a prompt, and I'll try to write as specifically as possible, as I usually do, and the details that I want on the post. So basically I just said, I want a person on a stage in the center of a room, spotlight on them, doing in the middle of a stand-up performance. I want cafe-style circular tables surrounding it with people, watching the show, reacting to the show. And it's in a place called, they need to be kind of in the shadow, so there's no light directly. Instead, they're being lit up by the spotlight as well, like ambient light, so they're kind of like in the shadows a bit, but still can be seen, and their facial reactions. And then I said, okay, so this is the date, this is the time, this information is like the venue needs to be mentioned, blah, blah. It's called Sunday Fun Day, da-da-da-da-da. And I did all that, and it made the posters. And I asked for 3 different styles. I asked for in Studio Ghibli style or whatever it's called. I said American comic style, and the third one I can't remember what it was. I think I said realism style. The thing is, it came with 3 different cartoon styles. Really, one was realistic cartoon, one was American style, like golden era cartoon, and the other was Ghibli Studio. Anyway, and it was great. Like the colors were cool and great. However, the writing was messed up. Like it was, some of it was even illegible. It looked like alien hieroglyphics. It was insane. It was funny. They still look great. And basically, my wife, who is she's a designer and she does this sort of stuff. She usually does the posters. So she looked at it and she was like, okay, there's some great ideas, but you wouldn't be able to use this. It's impossible. Like the time's not clear, or like the time is written 3 different times in different places. I don't even know if it's that or if it's something else. But there's some really great elements. So what she was saying is, at that moment, she would use AI to kind of create ideas, like base ideas, and see how they angle it, see what different kinds of tables, the different constructions, the setup, the fonts, because there was one that was like Bubbles Beer Club, looked a bit like, I don't know if you've seen the movie Cocktail with Tom Cruise, old film now, but the cocktail thing with like the circle around, it was like that. And I was like, oh, that's actually really cool. And she's like, yeah, I would totally steal that and put that in an actual poster. So basically it's like you just create a bunch of corpses that you can rip from and create a Frankenstein poster that looks cool. And basically you'd still need a graphic designer to put it all together, right? But that was a couple of months ago.
I remember you were showing me those designs that you've generated. And yeah, in addition to some like letters and whatever, like being absolutely like butchered by AI, like you really couldn't read it. Also, like as you said, like there were time and place and all this information like in 3-4 different places. I think it just kind of analyzed a bunch of posters that exist already, and according to that it said, okay, the time and date should be in top right corner, it should be in the bottom, or it should be, and then it just put it in all 3 places, like it doesn't have like critical thinking, obviously. But I remember some parts of those posters were funny because it was accidentally true, like because you generated like the little stage and the performer with the spotlight, but then the audience, like half of the audience was looking at the stage and the performer, but half was just like chatting to each other. Which I'm like, how does it know, So
it felt our pain. It was like, no, I must also show the tears of a clown. What makes you cry, what crushes your soul. It's like, oh, thanks a lot, man. Like, or the fact, some people were like, and then the drinks they had, like, it was just, it was absolutely hilarious. Yeah, there were some good parts.
I think on one of them also, like, everyone is drinking beer because it's just, the venue is like a beer
Bubbles Beer Club,
beer club. So exactly. But
I knew that.
So, but as you said, like back then, and that was not like 3 years ago. That was maybe like 3 months ago, tops, right? Yeah. And you could just get, like, as you said, like an idea. It could like give you some skeleton to work with to maybe then like redesign and like retype all the text and so on. And it was like pretty decent at that. And nowadays, like I think last like maybe 2 shows I've done, also for ideas mostly, because I don't like seeing, because the one thing with especially ChatGPT, because everyone uses it, all of those designs that come from it look more or less the same or similar. Like
I was gonna say,
recognize that it has been like AI generated. In 3 months from this, probably not anymore, but like as it is at the moment. But I've generated a few like full kind of scale visuals, like posters or posts, like or whatever, for a few shows, and it works. Now you can just say, like time, place, this color scheme, this art style. I want like 20 people. I want like a big stage, velvet curtains behind, whatever, and it absolutely does it. It's still a bit stubborn in the sense of like, it makes a mistake. You go like, no, I said blue curtains. And then it does the red curtains again. And you go like, no, I said blue curtains. And he goes, you're absolutely right. Let me fix this. And it does the green curtains. Like it's kind of, it has a
you
mind
colorblind bitch. God damn it. I said blue curtains.
Exactly.
Here is aquamarine. Close enough. Thank you.
And one thing that it really struggles with is like editing, like correcting things, like because for me it's going to generate like 95% what I wanted. Let's say like it's exactly how I imagined it. Like if I was a designer that was skilled enough, I would just do it myself. But as I'm not, it just makes what I imagined, but it's not like aligned. It's not like centralized. It's like a bit to the side or whatever. And I go like, yes, keep all of that, just like centralize these few elements, and then it changes like the curtain color and the text goes somewhere else. And I'm like, I haven't told you to do any of that. I just said move things closer to the center, but it's really shit at like fixing its mistakes, like tiniest mistakes, because it kind of actually generates a new image each time. It's not like it has an open like master like a designer would, right? And it just aligns the elements. It generates a new image each time. But other than that, I've used it for like Instagram posts, for like posters, for a few things now, and it can now generate a fully kind of complete with all the information, all the like everything visual, but they kind of all look the same. Well, recognizable.
No, well, that's what I mean. So, like, a couple of months after that one, like after my dodgy posters, or, good skeleton posters or corpses, then 2 months, I think 2 months later, I asked for a new prompt, expecting the same results, and basically was just going to show my wife, like, hey, this is what it came up with, and any inspiring ideas. And it came up with a perfect poster, totally fine. And when I mean perfect, as in there was no dodgy elements, like the writing, there was nothing back to front, there was nothing that was doubled over, there was nothing, no weird hieroglyphics. It was like just straight up exactly what I wanted the first time. And I showed it to her and she said, holy crap, we just have to put the logo on. That's all. We just need to put our logo on top. And we're good to go. And that's exactly what we did. We just added the logo. We didn't touch anything. We kept it as is because everything was just fine. But I noticed there's a certain like, everything is done, even though no matter how often I say hyper-realism, realistic, blah, 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 it gives me cartoons every time. And the one that you sent me is cartoon as well. And I'm like, right. So it seems to be stuck on this cartoon phase. I don't know if we can do like photorealism. No matter how often I try to go closer, like, make it look like it's a photo that's been taken of this. No, it doesn't really. It hasn't gotten there yet, at least not from my experience. But I'm sure by the time this thing probably gets posted, it's doing it. Also, at the same time, we have to also acknowledge the fact that we're using the free ChatGPT. We're not using the hyper advanced version, because obviously there are videos out there now of like Arnold Schwarzenegger as Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and it looks awesome. There's another one of Arnold Schwarzenegger as Whitney Houston singing I Want to Dance with Somebody, and it looks amazing. Also, Arnie looks kind of amazing as a bit of a pseudo Whitney. I got to admit, I'm like, hey, he brushes up nicely. But yeah, so it was
every time I go like, Dave, do you have like an hour today to record a podcast? You're like, no, brother, I'm busy. Is this what you're doing? Are you watching like AI renditions of Schwarzenegger singing Whitney Houston? It
is funny. I mean, it's obviously a little phase or a little fad that's happening at the moment, but it's interesting. But it shows just the capabilities of AI, what it can really do, because obviously this is being created with the high end AI, not the free version that we're using. So it shows what it's really capable of if you're willing to spend the money. But for us free users, yeah, I mean, it's good enough. I mean, hey, it's great, but it's like you said, it's all very copy paste. They all look, you can tell which ones are the AIs at this point. You're kind of like, that was made by AI, that was made by AI. But the ones that aren't, and also at the same time, we have to admit, we are not uploading things for it to use, because that's another thing it can do. If you upload photos and say, use this, it might also help it, or it can take those and just manipulate a little bit and then put it in to make it look realistic. But yeah,
I think why it kind of progressed so rapidly, like as I'm saying, it's been like 2-3 months since we recorded this same kind of part of this episode, and now we have to redo it, is because also we had these like few big trends, and they keep going, where people were generating like the Studio Ghibli or the toy in a little packaging or whatever, like images, which means millions of people were uploading millions of photos and giving it prompts, and it just learns, right? It learns. The more you kind of feed it, the more it learns. So I think like a year ago or 2 years ago, there was like 5 people trying to make a comedy poster using ChatGPT. 3 months ago, it was like 10,000 people. Today, it's maybe like 1 million people, trying to generate a poster. And the more it does that, the more it learns. So I think in 3 more months, because also with like the realism, nowadays when it creates like a human, like the ChatGPT, at least on the free tier, everything, it looks very like detailed. But it looks kind of plasticky. It looks like a video game character, kind of. The skin
smooth.
is always smooth. It's kind of the edges, the everything. But it already does, like, people have generated like such amazing images. Like you would say that it was taken by a photographer or something, like a very expensive camera, great lighting, but it's just your normal selfie from your mobile phone, and then the ChatGPT redoes all of that, like the shading, the contrast, the quality, like upscales the pixels and everything. So I think it's just a matter of like another 2, 3, 4, 6 months until we can actually say, like, I just upload my random, like selfie, and I do make me a comedy poster, put me on stage, like, add some audience, make it seem like they're really having a lot of fun, and then people will know it's AI generated immediately.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, exactly. So I think with the more details that we get in, the better. So by the time, like I said before, like the time this probably comes out, it's going to be the next phase, and maybe things will stop looking cartoony, and instead they'll start looking at it because of a different trend. But so I think it's going to be a huge influence, and I think it's going to keep developing. It's something that probably we can come back to later on in future. We can do another episode about AI and about the latest advancements in using it, because I've already got some ideas about how to use AI as a comedian, not for posters, but for other areas of being a comedian, like, writing or checking or, developing and all this sort of stuff, or even marketing. There's a whole range of stuff that now that we could incorporate AI into, and in future, I think it's just going to get more and more popular because, as you've mentioned, off podcast, it not just for us, but like startup companies, different ideas, people using AIs for different stuff, that we weren't expecting. So I think this is a whole topic that we can probably revisit every 6 months almost, and be like, so where are we with AI now? And it's like, what do you mean? Well, we're doing the whole episode on AI. It's not even us speaking anymore. David is at home taking care of his son, and Igor is off gallivanting on a beach. This episode is being brought to you by AI Igor and AI Dave. Yeah.
The comedy AI kiosk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, kiosk AI.
I mean, it's already possible, by the way. That's already possible that you would get a video of yourself, like a 10-minute video, just so you can recognize the movement patterns and everything, like, body language and stuff. It takes your voice, and then it can generate like a 40-minute like TED Talk, just put you in that kind of but of course you have to provide it with the text and everything. So I think for the podcast, sadly, until it creates like the ability to actually create content and not just generic content, which is let's say a combination of everything it's seen already, but until it starts having fresh, creative, ideas than critical thinking and decision making, which I think will not be that soon or maybe ever, because no one can do
famous words. In 3 months, we're going to be coming back, and then we have to re-edit this episode again.
Look, buddy, nobody can do a dick joke as we can. Okay, there's no AI, there's nothing. But there is also all these like moral implications. Like your wife is a designer, which means that in like 2-3 years, if the AI will be good enough to actually generate like posters and visuals, banners, billboards, whatever, no one's going to pay her to do it. And it has all these moral implications in the real world as well, like the copywriting, the jobs that, the creative jobs that people have now, if they are going to be replaced by, any algorithms, models, machine learning, things like that, then, that's why I said in the very beginning that I feel that we're safe, because the performance part, it cannot replace. And as of now, it cannot replace the joke writing part either. But it, as we just saw on an example, it's getting fucking close.
It's getting better.
Because
it's actually,
if I wanted to
the
write,
observational one.
If I wanted to write the joke about a man wearing a fedora and I couldn't think of anything, I could use this as at least as like a skeleton, as a kind of
stepping stone.
Yeah. So, okay, they immediately think they're like in a noir film. They think they're a detective. They're following someone around the supermarket. And it's like, buddy, you don't even have pants on. Like, what are you? So, put that cigar out. You're in a kindergarten. Something like you can play around with that. So it's this like writing part I'm a little bit scared of. But thank God, like I've met so many great writers, like comedy writers, real people that could write great jokes and then they couldn't perform for shit, or vice versa. So I think as long as you can perform and I think always when you perform your material, it's just different. It's just you want to do it. You feel some, connection to the thing you're talking about. You feel the energy, the passion for telling this. Than to perform some like ghost written material or AI written material or stealing someone else's jokes. And that's how we caught a few joke thieves in our time, in our like club and our organization, because you would be like, wait a minute, you're talking about, like your kids at home, but I know you're single. Like, what is, what's going on? Yeah. So and you always feel when someone is distant from their material. So I think, let's give it some time. We'll see. Maybe in like 2-3 years, we come back to this episode and see how AI has evolved, progressed, and or maybe we don't, because we'll be starving on the street and they'll be performing in the clubs.
Yeah. The one thing though, you brought up off episode, you brought up something because I said the Ghibli style, because that was the latest fad at that point. Everyone was taking like photos and things and give it in Ghibli style, the Japanese animation sort of style. Now the latest thing has been doing these blister packs, like Funko Pop blister packs or action figure with blister packs. We were talking about it before the episode, and you were mentioning how people were now using it as a new promo style, like a picture of a comedian, mic, a book of notes, blah blah blah, and the sort of how to promote it. Now the thing is, I was thinking about that, and I was thinking to myself, there's two problems. Well, not two problems, but there's two things I noticed. One, if we look at the lettering that's in my posters, there's gobbledygook. There's even stuff that's not actually Latin letters. It's just like doodles of something that resembles close to wording, but it's not real words. So that's a problem. You need to clean it up. But these action figure blister packs, the writing is always perfect, which makes me wonder two things. Has someone cleaned it up and then posted it? Or two, are they using maybe they're using paid ChatGPT, a paid AI, which is of a higher quality? Because I'm using the free to use ChatGPT, which I think now is 4.5 or whatever. They might be using a higher version that actually does lettering just fine. Maybe if I paid for ChatGPT and asked it to do a poster, there'd be none of these issues. You know what I mean? Like, this is kind of a way they get you to pay for it. Like, you want the high quality stuff where you just literally say what you want and it will do it perfectly. Maybe that's a thing. Secondly, the TikTok problem. I.e., one person says, I'm going to do in the style of Ghibli. Everyone does it. I'm going to do a blister pack action figure to promote. Everyone starts doing it. to the point, this is the problem that I had with TikTok. In the beginning, when I first popped on, I thought, oh, wow, these are really creative kids. They're doing some really funny, interesting stuff. Or they're doing some really... And then by the 10th poster, 10th TikToker, who was doing the exact same thing as all the others, I was like, oh, everyone just copy pastes.
Yeah, but that's...
They put their own little material or twist, but yeah, it's not. It's the exact same thing. By the end of it, I got so bored that after, I think, a few months of watching TikTok, I got bored and never went back.
But that's the thing with like trends and hype, you can see it in everything in fashion. Like this spring, summer, I see all the girls wearing like the low Adidas sneakers that were popular in like 1980s or whatever. And like now, like I enter a tram or something, every girl between the age of like 17 and 47 is wearing the same sneakers. Literally, I mean, in different colors and different whatever. Yeah. So it's this kind of thing. And when it comes to the internet, because sneakers you buy and you wear them at least like 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. But this kind of trends come and go. So with this action pack figure, and I made one for myself and so on. It's not the thing of price or paid. It's just that it's better trained for this because it's a model that it knows how to do. I think you started it with like, make me a stand-up poster. But this, especially because millions of people have made it, so it just got better. The more you feed it, the better it becomes. But yeah, this...
The bigger the monster it becomes.
Yeah, but this thing with action figures, for example, and the Ghibli style, yeah, like, everyone was doing it. Sportsmen, politicians, football clubs, brands, like I saw Ronald McDonald in Ghibli style, like all the brands, all the companies, everyone was doing it. Because, it was just a trend kind of thing. Yeah, I think, it's just going to be one of those things that someone does it, it becomes popular, and then it just catches this wave of, everyone hops on the bandwagon. But I think with, it's kind of helpful for exposure. It's not long-term or anything. But this is not where I see this is just for fun. I don't see any advantage of AI in terms of any quality work or exposure or anything there. It's just like a hype train, like, fidget spinners were 10 years ago. It's just...
Yeah. No, but I mean, yeah, I do agree what you say, though, with the more practice, the better it gets. So by the time you used it, it had no issues. And maybe also because it is simplified. It's one thing of text. I gave it a lot of information and maybe that overloaded it. And it was with one poster, it got mixed up with the instructions I gave of the coloring. It started incorporating that into the actual poster. And it's like, no, you're not supposed to mention the color scheme as cyan and 30, 60, 30, 10. Which might explain why some of the other numbers, like maybe I need to be much more specific or give it like as in 2 paragraphs and maybe it would separate. Like these are the instructions on how to make the poster. These are the instructions now to write what to write on the poster. Make sure not to include the previous information or some shit like that. I don't know. With more practice though, it is getting better and it is getting a little bit scary and all the rest. So yeah. Final thoughts?
Final thoughts. As I said, let's come back to this episode in like 3 years. If we're not, homeless, poor, and begging on the street because AI has taken over the world. And let's see, because a lot of things you mentioned, like VR, I remember 10 years ago, that was like the big buzzword, like we're going to be living in this virtual reality world where you put on this headset and now you're in your office, now you're on the street, now you're, like watching porn in VR, whatever. Like people were imagining all these, like, or you're on a roller coaster, you're bungee jumping, whatever, without leaving your home. And it never really took off. Like no one's really doing VR in real world besides video games, which, it's just video games. So I think there is, because now I with AI, when I play table tennis like twice a week. And when I go to the website of this sports gym to book my table tennis slot, I open the calendar and it says loading AI. And then it shows me the calendar. And I'm like, buddy, that's just a calendar. Like, you cannot sell everything under AI, but it's this big buzzword. I'm attending some like startup conferences for my day job, and every startup has AI in it. Doesn't matter. Like they're just doing, it's like a headhunting recruitment HR company that goes like, with the help of AI, we're trying to analyze and identify the best candidate for. I'm like, no, that's, that's just called data. That's just called, analytics. It's not everything is, but yeah, it's just a big buzzword. It's just everywhere around us. I think it's going to stick around for like 6 months, 1 year. 2 years, and then we're going to see there is just going to become, as you said, like replace some interns and volunteers, and someone that some level of work and professionals that are getting exploited anyways. Or
busy work.
Yeah. Or it's going to be a scary thing. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. So thank you for joining us. Leave a comment on our Instagram or on our Facebook or on our X/Twitter sort of thing, because we do have those pages. If you want, you can suggest topics, and you can also, get a little feedback and talk back and forth. So thank you very much for joining us. I hope it was interesting for you. I've been David Munoz, and with me, as always,
I've been Igor Monday. Thank you so much. Catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.
ciao.